There are various acting techniques that actors use to approach their craft. Different techniques appeal to different actors, and often actors may use a combination of methods. Here, today, are some specific acting types of acting techniques on this episode of Casting Actors Cast.
It's time for another episode of Casting Actors Cast, insights for actors from a casting director. Here he is, your host, Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello. And welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm casting partner Jeffrey Dreisbach. I'm working as a partner with Pat McCorkle at McCorkle Casting in New York. How are you? I hope you're having a good day. I'm having a really good day, and I'm looking forward to sharing this information with you about various acting styles, various acting techniques. Oftentimes these techniques are taught in school, but professionally speaking, actors sometimes forget some of these techniques. They may have a personal preference about which technique is right for them. But also, not all techniques work for all areas of performance. So we're going to dive into that in just a moment. But first, this is that moment of the podcast where I get to say thank you for tuning in to Casting Actors Cast. We continue to grow the podcast, and I invite you to check out the website, castingactorscast.com. On the landing page, you're going to find a form that says dive into the talent pool. And when you do that, that's going to open up some freebies for you. One is a book that I wrote on doing voiceover work. The other is a free video. It's a 20-minute video called Casting Secrets, What They Don't Tell You. Also, on the website, you're going to find Jeff's Jots. It's my blog, but it's actually corresponding show notes to each of the individual episodes. So you can grab those show notes, you can download them, you read along as you're listening or watching the podcast, because we're also simulcasting this on YouTube. Check out the YouTube channel if you want to see what I look like. I broadcast this live, so I'm not only dealing with sounding as good as I can, but I'm also trying to look as good as I can. So if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, Casting Actors Cast, I invite you to do so. Finally, I'd like to just give my shout out to my good friends at actorsconnection.com. Please check out their online course offerings, actorsconnection.com/New York. All right, I think that's all the housekeeping I need to do today. Again, I appreciate you being here. So let's talk about the various acting methods. And these are not all of them, but these are some that I just want to draw your attention. My hope is that you would get curious and maybe want to investigate a little bit more if you haven't been familiar with some of these. And then, of course, many of these you might be very familiar with, but it's kind of a nice reminder, I think, that there are other ways in which you can achieve a really good performance result by incorporating some of the elements of these acting techniques. All right, first one up. Obviously, you probably know what I'm going to say, method acting. Method acting was developed by Konstantin Stanislavski. Method acting involves actors drawing upon their emotions and their experiences to develop authentic and emotionally connected performances. It's like you dive deep into your emotional soul in order to replicate what the character is experiencing at the same time. It emphasizes creating a character's inner life, and psychological motivations are really critically important to the method technique. Number 2. Meisner technique. This is extremely popular. A lot of folks are teaching Meisner technique, but be very careful that you're taking classes. If you're interested in the Meisner technique, you really want to make sure you're working with somebody who's had extensive experience using and working with this technique. It was developed by Sanford Meisner. This technique seems to focus on truthful reactions and listening. Actors respond to their scene partners in the moment. And that, of course, allows for spontaneous and genuine performances. That's why Meisner is so popular. Extremely popular for film and television as well. All right, let's move on from there. The next one is Lee Strasberg's method. Building upon Stanislavski's method, Lee Strasberg emphasized emotional memory and sensory recall to achieve realistic and emotionally charged performances. It's often associated with the Actors Studio, if you've heard of that, and Grotowski's The Group Theater. Now there's the Chekhov technique. That's number 4, developed by Michael Chekhov. This technique is really interesting because it emphasizes the use of your imagination. The physicality and psychological gestures to create characters. It encourages actors to connect with their inner life through the body. So there's definitely a lot of physical work that takes place, but also connecting emotionally to the character through your physicality was sort of the cornerstone of the technique. I mentioned Grotowski earlier. Grotowski's Poor Theater. Jerzy Grotowski focused on stripping away unnecessary elements in theater, achieving the actor's physical and vocal abilities and working on those physical and vocal abilities. So when we talk about stripping away the elements of theater, we sort of reduced what the sets looked like and the costumes. We sort of tried to get to that inner world of the experience in theater. Poor theater encourages a deep connection between actors and audiences. Befremding is a form of that theater technique in that the audience experiences the actor presenting the trials and tribulations and the drama of the character, not necessarily connecting personally. So you would empathize with that external performance. And it's really an interesting, I really like reading up about that particular arena, Grotowski's Poor Theater. Moving on from there, we have Commedia dell'arte. Now, Commedia dell'arte is an Italian form of improvisational theater, and Commedia dell'arte features stock characters and scenarios. See, many times, not always, but many times actors use masks and physical comedy to tell stories in a very highly stylized manner. Also attached to that would be Molière. Very stylized stock kinds of characters. Very much fun to play, especially if you have read up on that particular period. There's a lot of amazingly interesting and fun material to play. We don't see it quite as much on stage anymore, but being comfortable and familiar with that style serves the actors well because there's just a lot of fun in having the experience of being that stylized in terms of performance. Number 7, biomechanics. This was developed by Westwold Meyerhold. Meyerhold's biomechanics explores the use of the actor's body as a machine, really, to express emotions and actions. It involves precise physical movements and gestures. Number 8, practical aesthetics, developed by David Mamet and William H. Macy. You all know Bill Macy, I'm sure. Now, this technique, really interesting, emphasizes the importance of the script, and it encourages actors to focus on the given circumstances and the actions they perform. So it really is about going back to the script. What is the writer's intention? Why did the writer write this scene? What is supposed to be accomplished in this scene? So it all kind of keeps on feeding back into the script. And that makes it a very effective tool, especially in film and television, for sure. Now, listen, actors often choose techniques that resonate with them and complement their individual strengths and performances. Some may experiment with various techniques to find a personalized approach to their craft. Not all techniques work with all types of performances. So it's really valuable for the actor to gain as much information and knowledge as you possibly can about each of these techniques. You might want to dabble a little bit in these techniques in your classes or in your research because how do I say this? Well, I'm going to say it. Information is power. You've heard that before. So the more information you have about these various techniques, you just might find key, unique, interesting insights into how to play this character in this production or in this project. So I hope that this has been helpful for you today. I know it's kind of a short podcast, but I thought it would be kind of fun to give an overview of these things. Perhaps it sort of triggered you when you were in school, or maybe if you're in school, you're studying some of these. Something to hang on to, I think. So I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And that's my email address, castingactorscast, all one word.com. And of course, once again, please do check out the website, castingactorscast.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to the next podcast. This is Casting Actors Cast.
Thank you for joining Casting Actors Cast. I'm Megan Grace Martinez.